my channel. Welcome back to another video. I'm Jessie and you're watching. I am so excited to be doing the anti-TBR tag. The amazing, brilliant creator of this tag, Nicole, and her books will be linked down below. Definitely watch her video because it is absolutely amazing and stunning, just like Nicole is. This is a tag where we celebrate the books that we simply have no interest in reading, books that do not call to us, books that are just not our cup of tea, so that we can move on and focus on the books that we are personally really excited to read for ourselves. Now, all of these videos crack me up because literally every single booktuber starts this video by being like, I in no way mean to have opinions. I in no way, shape, or form mean any ill will towards the readers who enjoy these books, nor the author who wrote the book. Please do not send me death threats. Please do not kidnap and kill my pets. Please do not hate me for having opinions. Now, if you disagree with me, that's totally fine, but just know that these are my opinions, and you know, it's okay that I have opinions. It doesn't mean you can't read the book. I mean, you can read the book. I don't have to like it though, so please don't be mad at me because I don't like the books that you like. Like, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. Look,
I don't have time for any of that.
And it's frustrating because while it's a very small portion of people who do this, it still is enough to make booktubers nervous. And it's so frustrating that booktubers have to go into these lengthy disclaimers. We essentially have to sound like we are filming a commercial and we have to go through every single side effect and symptom that you may or may not experience as a result of taking this medication. And it sucks that like booktubers feel the pressure to have to make such lengthy disclaimers about their own preferences because a small group of people just cannot accept anyone not having the same exact opinion as them. And it's just really freaking sad. So instead of a disclaimer, I'm gonna tell y'all who are at home, who are watching this, the small amount of you who get offended when people don't like the same things that you like, I'm gonna need you to grow up and get a hobby, okay? I'm gonna need you to be more passionate about literally anything else. Find a cause, join a sports team, do something, but you cannot just like sit at home and rip on booktubers because they didn't like the same exact book as you. We don't have time for it. This is what happens when you let your kid participate in sports where everybody gets a medal. So I'm telling you at home, you are not going to agree with everything that I'm about to say, and that's okay. You can dislike this video if you want. That's cool too, because I still get paid for engagement, so I don't care. Just like how you shouldn't care if I don't like your favorite book. It's gonna be okay.
You're gonna make it through this, I promise.
You are strong, you have survived all of your worst days, and I promise you that me not liking your favorite book is not going to be cause for an early grave. I promise, okay? I wish anti-blackness and racism and mass poverty made some of y'all as upset as it does when I don't like your favorite book, okay? I cannot with some of you. I can't do it. Imagine your day being ruined because someone said they didn't like your favorite book. It just couldn't be me. Question number 1 is a popular book that everyone loves, but you have no interest in reading.
Where do I start?
I feel like that's my entire channel, but the best answer I can give for this is Throne of Glass, Crescent City, and Court of Thorns and Roses. I don't even know if I said those names correctly. I am not interested in any of those books. First and foremost, because of the excerpts that I've read specifically surrounding character interactions and some of the sexual content. I'm not prudish about sexual content in my books, but it's gotta not be cringy. Like, if it hurts me to read the scene, I'm probably not going to enjoy it. And I also just do not care for fairies, which is such a sin to say on BookTube because so many of y'all really love anything to do with fairies, and I've never cared about them. I don't find them interesting or compelling. Fairy magic, fae magic just doesn't get me. I've yet to read a book with fae magic that I thought was good. Not to say that there aren't any good books with fae magic, I just haven't enjoyed any of the ones that I've read. And also, the whole concept of fairy magic just doesn't appeal to me. They're not mythical creatures that I'm interested in. So Sarah J. Maas's books just don't call to me. Question number 2 is a classic book or author that you have no interest in reading. For this, I am definitely going to go with the beloved Jane Austen. Some of the most popular books of all time, Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility. Pride and Prejudice has inspired so many incredible retellings And even those retellings don't interest me. The concepts of her books just don't speak to me, and I'm just not interested in the stories that she told as a writer. Question number 3, a problematic author whose works you have no interest in reading. I am most definitely going to go with a staple on BookTube, which is none other than Rainbow Rowell. I know that so many booktubers grew up reading her works and just love her. Carry On is such a acclaimed book on BookTube, and not only does the subject matter not interest me, but after reading Eleanor and Park, which during the reading experience, I thought was okay. I wasn't wowed by it, but I didn't hate it. And then upon reading Own Voices reviews, and I realized how problematic and fetishizing the descriptions of Park and his mother were. And among some other things, I just know that Rainbow Rowell isn't an author that I personally choose to support and uplift. And once I reread those passages and realized how problematic and racist those descriptions were, I pretty much just decided that there are other authors that I can enjoy and uplift besides this one. Although I do really hope that she has learned something from those criticisms and that her future works have healthier representation for people of color. Question number 4 is an author you've read a couple books from and decided that their books aren't for you. I honestly thought long and hard about this, and I can't think of any. The only author that I can think of is Kacen Callender, because I read Queen of the Conquered, hated it. I also read Hurricane Child, didn't hate it, but I also didn't love it or care for it, and nothing from the book stuck with me. So I was like, yep, Kacen Callender just isn't for me, but I ended up reading Felix Ever After, which came out this year and is gonna be the non-binary book club pick for January, so the first book that we're gonna read in 2021. And I loved this book. I read it, I think, in September, and it blew my freaking mind. I thought it was such an amazing, amazing coming of age story. And I was really pleasantly surprised that Kacen did have a book that I enjoy, because I really want to like them as an author, but they are definitely not going to be an auto-buy author by any means. Question number 5 is a genre that doesn't interest you or that you can't get into, and this is going to be no surprise to anybody who's spent any length of time on my channel, but my genre is going to be romance. And it's not because I look down on the genre. It's not because I think that romance stories aren't important and special and that they're not real writing. It's not from an elitist perspective by any means, because it really bugs me when people look down on romance and on romance readers as if their reading taste is superior simply because they like fantasy or literature or whatever. All genres are valid, right? There's no need to put some genres on a pedestal over others or shame certain people who like to read certain genres just because you don't like to read them, right? I think that that's whack. It's whack, it's Muppet rabies, it sucks. But the reason that I don't like romance is because whenever I read a romance book, 9 times out of 10, I just don't root for the romance. I prefer my romances to be in the form of pining, or these two people strategically being kept apart, or through loss and grief and memory. I just tend not to like romances where the main characters aren't actively like going through some sort of life or death mission, which is why I tend to like the romances in science fiction or fantasy more. And even then,
or in thrillers.
But even then, I still usually am like, okay, I just don't care about this romance. I just don't care. And romance just isn't something that generally speaks to me. It's not something I look for in my films. It's just, it doesn't move me very often. Like, people falling in love just really doesn't do it for me. People courting each other really doesn't do it for me. Even in my personal life, like I'm just not a very romantic person. I don't know. It's not for me. Question number 6 is a book that you bought but are never going to read. Look, I don't do this, okay? The way my bank account is set up, I cannot just be willy-nilly buying books that I'm not going to read. I just don't do that. But more importantly, the reason why this isn't a thing is because I typically read a book from my library before I go out and buy it, because it's really important to me to make sure, A, that I actually like a book before I spend money on it, and B, that I'm supporting my local library. Now, I do have tons of books that were sent to me that I know I'm never going to read, books that were sent unsolicited that I just know I'm not going to ever reach for. One of those books is Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. I'm probably never going to read this, and it's not just because of the poor representation for folks who wear dreadlocks. I'm probably just not gonna reach for it. Because it simply just isn't calling to me. Now, question number 7 is a series that you have no interest in reading, or a series that you started and decided not to finish. Now, besides everything that Sarah J. Maas has ever written, I'm going to go with To Kill a Kingdom. This was a book that was sent to me. I won it in a giveaway, and it involves sirens, a siren who has a particular particular taste for prince meat, just loves to lure princes to the depths of the sea and eat their freaking hearts. And then of course she falls in love with a prince and all of that changes. So it's basically also kind of like a dark Little Mermaid retelling, because she is also a princess of the sea, except for instead of King Trident, Ursula is pretty much her mom. Theoretically, I wanted to love this book, but the characters weren't strong enough or memorable enough to me to continue the series. I also wasn't compelled very deeply by the story. I was interested enough to finish the book, but once I finished it, I didn't have that satisfying sense of completion or even curiosity for further books in this series.
At least I think this is a series. This is a series, right?
We also have 5 Midnights, which is a Puerto Rican thriller, and we're following a bunch of teens as they realize that a monster is hunting them down and killing them one by one. Own Voices reviewers had some amazing criticisms for this book surrounding the representation of Puerto Rico and Puerto Ricans. I'm not Puerto Rican, I'm Mexican, but I too noticed that the representation was sketchy, and then I looked into the reviews and I was like, oh, okay, it's not just me thinking this. Because I was like,
some of the things that are being said in this book just don't feel right.
and I didn't see other reviewers talk about this, but personally, I could not stand the way that drug users were depicted in this book. People who have substance abuse issues were just depicted as lazy and weak and just of poor moral character. And I didn't like that. There's also a scene where someone who is in recovery, who has been in recovery for like 11 months, if not longer, was left, literally abandoned by their friends in a den of people using their drug of choice. Literally their friends were like,
Oh, he's gonna be aight.
and then dipped because they wanted to save their own skin. And that would have been fine with me if they had been called out or realized later, yo, that was not acceptable that we left somebody who was in recovery in such a dangerous situation in which they could relapse. They never did. It was never depicted as wrong. There were just so many issues that I had with this book. The descriptions of horror and the thrilling elements were very satisfying, and I liked that. So I think I ended up giving it like 2 or 3 stars or something like that. There's gonna be another book in the series, and I'm just not interested in reading it. The final question for this tag is a new release that you have no interest in reading. And this is where the pitchforks are going to come for me if they haven't come for me already, because that is The Invisible Life of Addie Larue. Look, everybody is obsessed with this book. Everybody wants to read it. Everybody is reading it. Everybody's loving it. I'm hearing great things about the writing and just
The writing,
character work and the quotes and all that fun stuff. All things that I really enjoy. But we're basically just following a woman who is cursed, who wants to be eternal and immortal, and she appeals to this devil-esque character in order to get her wish granted, and he grants her wish. However, even though she is given eternal life, she is cursed with never being able to be remembered by anyone she meets. So she is essentially cursed to be forgotten. And then one day in a bookstore, she ends up encountering somebody who remembers her, a boy who remembers her.
and I just don't care.
I just don't care. The only reason that I have interest in this, and interest is not the word that I would use. I would say a mild twinge of curiosity. I have a mild twinge of curiosity over this book because I've heard great things about Victoria Schwab and her writing, but the story itself does not sound appealing to me. I'm not gonna lie. It sounds boring. So will I end up reading that someday? Probably. All right, that is the anti-TBR tag. Thank you so much to Nicole for creating this amazing tag, and please comment down below and tell me what books or series do you have no interest in reading, and I would love to know why. Thank you so much for watching another Bow Ties and Books production. If you liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. I would absolutely love it if you became a part of my bookish family. All of my social media links are gonna be in the description box below. Stay safe, wear your mask, and I can't wait to see you in my next video.